Yeah. If I die tomorrow, I hope you hear these words. I ain't here to flip no birds or sip no syrup. Hope the future generations can get this urge. Stay woke, youngin', and avenge these nerds.
Yo.
Hola.
Yo, what is up?
Welcome back to Tone on the Road.
Tone on the road. Here we go.
Tone's Road Rage Diaries. There we go.
That's
That
it.
part.
That's it.
That part right there. How was everybody's weekend?
Weekend was chill. Weekend was super chill. Got to
was
see
good.
Boys
Same.
win on Friday.
I fucking slept and just watched TV, caught up on shows, and chilled out. Nothing special.
Nice.
Nothing crazy. I think this weekend was like I got back from vacation, went back to work, and I got like the tail end of a cold. Like it wasn't like a full on like knocked me on my ass, but I think it caught me early enough that I was like, all right, I'm just gonna rest and like sleep it out and like stop this like bullshit because I do not need to get sick right now in the middle of like the tail end of summer. Like that would be the worst.
That is the worst.
I mean, but it is the season.
Just the season to be sniffing.
It is. You got to be
What up,
careful.
Shy?
What's going on, Cheyenne? Fun
Osai
size
was
menace
this
is here.
Congratulations to you guys. Shy did an
Oh,
awesome
that's
cosplay.
right. Yes.
But I mean, I don't want to keep our guests waiting in the back. Everybody knows Val is not with us tonight. Val is busy tonight. So again, love you, Val. We will see you
Nice.
next week when we talk Game of Thrones. But we do want to welcome back someone who has been on the show, who I attached the link in the description for his interview when he first came on the show. When he first came on the show,
God, it's a long fucking time ago.
Oh yeah.
Yo, I didn't realize how long ago it's been until like today, and I was just like, "Oh."
I mean, he's been on the show multiple times, but I mean, this was when he launched, I believe, Lords of the Cosmos. It was like issue 1 or issue 2 when he came on. He also did the Satanic Coloring Book, but he has a new Kickstarter out now that you guys can actually go to the link in the description too and follow for when it launches, because Lords of the Cosmos, I believe we're on number 5 now, is coming out. I mean, he'll correct me when he comes on, but we want to welcome back Jason Lenox.
I love that Jason's face in the background, which is like, damn it really is fine.
Well, you got it right. There's no correcting because you got it to a T. And I want to tell you, getting back on with the Nerds Around, I feel like I'm at a house with some old friends. I really appreciate all of you, and I want to give the three of you and Mel as an extension a huge tip of the cap, because like an old school talk show circuit, I've got my new book coming out September 10th on Kickstarter. And so I've been reaching out to all of my favorite podcasts and interviewers and whatnot. And I almost feel like there's been a culling, because it seems about like 90% of the people that I've done so with before are just done. I've actually been quite shocked with how many interviewers, podcasts, etc. just don't exist now. So a tip of the cap to the nerds that are around, because you guys are the real deal. You didn't quit. You didn't stop. So I don't know if anyone's mentioned that.
We're hanging in there.
Hanging in there, man. Life is but a dream.
Dedicated.
What's going on, brothers?
Yeah, because if I couldn't come on here, I would miss you guys and catching up. Like I said, it's just like good old friends, because you are friends. So thanks for having me back on.
That is one of our favorite compliments to get whenever we have people on. They're just like, yo, it feels like I feel like I'm hanging out with old friends, or it feels like, you know, we've known each other for forever. So like genuinely from the bottom of my heart, that's one of my favorite compliments that we ever get for the show.
Yeah, well, you deserve it. And like I said, I'm proud of you guys, because there's a million reasons to stop doing things like this, but you guys are like, you guys are the real deal, because you keep doing it. And that's I've grown a huge appreciation from going back through my database that I keep. So many are gone. Well, I stopped, I quit, we're done, you know, we got tired of it, I'm doing something else. So Nerds Around, you guys.
I'm trying to remember.
Thank you, Cheyenne, for always
keeping us humble.
Cheyenne said, y'all all right or whatever. Just kidding. Y'all love you very much.
I think
love you too.
The podcast, I believe, has been going strong since
2018.
2018,
19?
2017,
No,
2018.
2017, 2018.
Wow.
So I'm counting it from the dark episode that never got aired. When did that dark episode never air?
That was 2017.
So 2017.
No,
The
that was
show
before
started-
me. That was before
Yeah.
me.
Yeah.
So
What's going
quick
on,
fun
Hugo?
what up, Hugo? So Jason, the first time we had you on the show was July 2nd, 2021.
Okay.
Wow.
Wow.
Damn, just
Holy
over
shit.
3 years ago. That's crazy.
Wow.
Wow.
Has it been that long? Yo, it has not been that long.
Yeah, no, it's I mean, I've been making comics and self-publishing now since 2012, which in like nerd years is like, it seems like way longer.
Right.
So again,
2012 feels like lifetimes ago.
yeah. So I mean,
Yeah.
like, where was culture? What were we into in 2012? You're like, oh my goodness, like, so much has changed.
That was when the world was supposed to end, but it, when it happened in 2020.
Yes.
That part. Yep.
But yeah, you've been killing it, man. You've been hitting it strong. I mean, we've been paying attention on the social medias. You're dropping Lords of the Cosmos #5.
Yep.
Which I know you're excited about that. You got the shirt rocked out and everything.
Yeah, got the shirt. We got more merch than ever, right?
Also, Cheyenne says,
Yep,
I
see,
remember
Cheyenne
I have a
remembers.
satanic
Okay,
coloring
Cheyenne, all
book.
right.
Nice.
Oh man, yeah, damn, time does fly by when you're having fun.
So give us the rundown. What have you been up to since we've last seen you, and what's on the docket for things to come for Lord of the Cosmos?
So here's the new deal with my new book. It's 100% done. I just got the print proofs the other day. The book's done. PDFs are done. The book is ready to go to print.
Beautiful.
When it hits Kickstarter, it is already a completed product. It's
Nice.
44 interior pages. I think I have 9 variant covers for this issue.
Oh wow!
Holy shit!
Wow.
The promotional video, I got permission from Cybertronic Spree to use their music, and I got Doug Stone to do the voiceover work. He's the voice of Matt Tracker from Mask, or M-A-S-K from the 80s.
Oh wow!
Wow.
That's a classic.
So
From the cartoon?
It's been, what's that? I'm sorry, Tim.
From the cartoon Mask?
Yeah, from the cartoon Mask. So I've been digging in hard since issue 4 was out in like 2020, I think it was. Like it's getting pretty. I'm getting Bob. When's the next issue, Jason? Did you quit? And I'm like, no, I'm just getting it done. So this time when it comes out, it's all done.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I've been putting just a ton of work into doing that, and I have not been doing podcasts and not promoting because I've been busy working because I want to get my book done so it's ready to go, and it is. And
you've been in the trenches, man. You've been hitting the local circuits. There you go. See,
money hashtag always broke, but hashtag will always support.
Shy, all them Aurelist, all lifers love you guys. Always the support. No, but man, you've been hitting the paint hard. You've been hitting up a lot of the local cons, a lot of local circuits, especially around the Pennsylvania area, around the New Jersey area. I've been seeing you, man. You've been working hard out there.
Making the rounds, stretching the legs.
It's one of those things where it's like I said, I've been putting a lot of work into just creating the product, formatting pages, creating stuff, and doing the work. And now it's time to get out and get people excited and build that campaign, get the pre-launch followers, and have the best possible campaign I have. So, like I said, merch stuff. We're gonna have mouse pads, enamel pins, T-shirts, bookmarks, stickers.
I'm waiting for the Lords of the Cosmo action figures. That's what I want to hear you say.
There's going to be one in the new book. There's going to be a limited set of sculpts for the main character in issue 5.
So
nice.
So since we've last seen you, obviously now this is issue 5. So what has happened up to the point so far that people have missed from Lords of the Cosmos that's leading to issue 5?
So where we last left off in issue 4, in the main story, the villains have turned on each other, and one of them is being sent to be tortured to death. And the heroes have decided to stop hiding in their mountain fortress, and they've decided to start moving ahead to fight the enemies. So issue 5 is going to pick up where all those cliffhangers ended. and we find out what goes horribly wrong when villains turn on each other, and also the heroes put out a call around their world to summon all the heroes that have quit and have gone into hiding. Right, so that's the main story, and then the two backup stories are why the villains are turning on each other, and a day in the life of one of the villains, Zemba. And then the other story is if we put the Lords of the Cosmos characters in a 1980s action movie scenario.
Ooh, 1980 action movie scenario. So
yes,
I've already started thinking about a few.
Yeah, I mean, and that's got everything from a lizard cowboy to a gigantic van-sized spider with a human body on the front. To
Seabass loves that, don't you, Seabass?
Nope.
And we even have a kind of a secret shout out to the Wizard of Oz. You might notice one of Dorothy's companions even makes kind of a silent guest appearance in the issue. So it's very 80s movies, but very 80s action movie, but with the Lords of the Cosmos aesthetic. So you'll see that too. It's called Pulse, Part 1, and it has a cliffhanger ending too.
Okay.
Right?
See, if you're doing 80s action scenes, me and Phil have talked about this one. It's from Commando, where Arnold Schwarzenegger is holding Sully over the cliff and he drops Sully.
Ah, yeah, Sully. Right. I lied.
Classic. Classic.
No, but but you know, you want action figures. There's going to be a new action figure on the back of the book. Zemba gets her action figure debut in the cover, and we have a limited edition amount of custom sculpts from Mudroom Studios in Philadelphia. Erica D. I met him years ago at Wizard World Philadelphia. Rest in peace, Wizard World Philadelphia.
Oh yeah.
So he is going to do a limited amount of custom action figure sculpts for fans for a couple bucks.
That's fun. That's actually pretty dope. I mean, I always think it's cool when people because like seeing a lot of people over the last few years after we've gotten to interview a lot of people doing their indie books and everything, doing their own comics, getting their stories out there. It's always cool when they start to venture and then you the excitement when people see that their characters are now sculpted into an action figure. So I just want to know how you're feeling about that, starting to get these deals with people who are doing these sculpts for you. How does it feel to now see the characters come from the pages to now this sculpted model now that you can actually hold in your hand?
I love it. I think it's a lot of fun. I would never mass produce these characters. I don't think they're popular enough yet, but Eric does a great job of building custom one-offs you could put on your shelf. So Zemba is awesome as an action figure, and I have her. She's in storage right now until I get my rec room remodeled with more shelving. Hello, Rick. But yeah. But it's exciting, so hopefully people snap those up. I think there's going to be 3 or 4 available in the campaign. So,
okay, what's here? So that's what is there a specific tier? So it comes the Kickstarter starts on the September 10th.
Yep.
People can go to the link right now in the description to follow when it launches.
Yep.
You said there's a limited number for that. What tier do they have to hit to say, "Shut up, take my money, I want that"?
I will have to look. I'll give you an exact total, and I think there's some early birds of her too. So I'll look it up. I'll look it up right now. I'll give you the real answer. I don't want to guess. So just hang tight. Chat amongst yourselves. I'll look it up.
I mean, we're going nowhere, and Tone's not stuck.
You already got a bunch of the guys in the audience just like, so my wallet's hurt right now, but I think I'm going to need this anyways.
Yes. So let me go into the Kickstarter menu. And we will take a look. So we're going to go in the rewards. There are 98 add-ons, or I'm sorry, 97 add-ons.
Oh,
what
shit.
the fuck?
Wow.
Wait, what?
Dude,
he's been busy.
I don't think I've ever heard a Kickstarter with that many add-ons.
He's been busy.
Well, I mean, we've got coffee mugs,
nuts.
we've got character design posters, we've got mouse pads, enamel pins, action figures. It's crazy.
I mean, it's to be expected because it's like you've done many different successful Kickstarters because you started with Lords of the Cosmos when we got introduced. You did the Satanic coloring book, and then from there again with your marketing and everything, and then also too hitting the paint, meeting people, building with fans and everything, building that rapport and getting to talk to people. Like I said, we've been following you on the socials, and you've best been heavily on the paint. So it's like. And then on top of it, it's probably people who you've gotten to network at shows to help out with these awards that you can work with. I take it, right?
Yeah. it's to me like my big goal for this book. And I talked to a gentleman named Gary on Instagram. He was a referral. He's a podcaster I'm going to do an interview with. And Gary said, "Why do you want to come on my show?" And I said, "I want to build the biggest, newest, better, more diverse audience. I want to get to as many people as possible. And that means leveraging the people that you have existing relationships with and finding every possible way, young, old, far away, up the street, find everyone, bring them all in, get people excited about a book that is going to kick their ass, and it's already done. So it isn't like, well, I'll work on getting it done. No, it's done. I'm gonna do some live appearances for this at a couple stores, and I'm gonna take the books out to say you can't buy them here, but you can get them on the Kickstarter. Check out the book. So, I've been working it hard, and one of the things right now that I've heard a lot with crowdfunding is people are saying, "Hey, it's tight, we're struggling." So when I'm not making comic books and action figures, I do commercial sales for heating and cooling. So I'm out every day pounding the streets trying to sell equipment to contractors. And in that space, you got to work it. So I'm trying to bring a lot of that work ethic to my Kickstarter to say, maybe things are a little tight. People are a little hard on their money. Inflation's been taking a bite. Got to work harder. I got to work different. So like I said, I want to find a bigger, better, more diverse, just make that audience bigger, better, stronger, right? So I took a look. There is one early bird Zemba for $250, and the other ones are limited. There's 4, and they're $300 each.
Nice.
Oh man.
And I think it's well worth it because these are in these early bird specials as well. People get to in there, like a lot of people understand. Like some of these early bird specials are to a way to get the stuff discounted. But at the same time, what's great about your Kickstarter is that it's already done. It's not like people go into invest into a Kickstarter and hoping it's done, because that is what's happened. What's turned a lot of people away from Kickstarter. People will go out there, buy my stuff, but it's not done, and then you don't hear from the person. With your case, because you've had that successful track record, and again, this is just me letting you guys know out there, listening, watching in TV land out there, is that every Kickstarter that Jason has come on and talked to on our show has been fully funded. He has the stuff done. He goes out there. It's there to say he's the guy who just bends over backwards for his fans and everything, because you love what you create, and you get to every time and that's why we attach that first interview going back to 2021. That was the energy you had coming on, and you always have that energy coming on the show, which we always love you, brother.
So one of the things that I did for this project, I made a thing that's going to be in the campaign called The Pledge, right? It's like my political platform for my comic. I'll read this to you, right? Okay. I believe in it. No AI was used for Lords of the Cosmos. I don't believe in that. That was not around during the coloring book or any of my past projects, but I'm really anti that. I think it's anti-creator, and I don't like it, and I don't want it in my project. And I think as a creator at this point, it's important to point that out. So that's number one. That's my first plank of my platform. My second plank of my platform is every person that did work on the project was paid in money, not exposure, right? I want to make sure if you worked for me, you got paid, because something else that makes me sick is reading posts on social media where people are throwing shade at each other. Hey, I did 4 covers for this guy and I didn't get paid. And then they're just throwing at each other. And I don't like that. If people do work that they're supposed to be paid, pay these people. Don't string them out. Don't make them, have to fight for their money. I don't believe in that. So that's my second plank. My final plank is no risk. The project's 100% complete and ready for backers. That makes me sick. I think crowdfunding is a great tool, but I think a lot of people have abused it and they've taken advantage of backers. And then the people don't want to back anyone's project because they got burned on a project from years ago. So, everyone sees politicians. They have a platform. That's my platform, right? No AI, pay your team. Make sure the project's done so your backers are respected. So that's my platform. That's the pledge in the book, right? So I'm going to take that out as I do any interview or podcast to say, that's my platform. If you don't like it, we'll fight like a debate.
Mm-hmm. Cheers to that.
That's a solid platform.
Listen, and like I said, some of the stuff sounds obvious, and you hate to say it, but I mean, look, we're all on social media. You see the amount of sniping.
It's got to be said, though. It's got to be said. I mean, especially the having your product finished and not paying your people, right? Like, and the exposure thing is such nonsense. Like you can't feed anybody on fucking exposure. You can't pay your bills on it. So it should always be a no-brainer, and unfortunately it's not. So, whatever. Common sense, you got to put it out there, though, because people want to know what you're about.
Yeah, and like I said, I think, at this point, there could be a lot of naysayers or people that are like, I don't want to back these projects on Kickstarter because I got burned and all the people on there are just ripping people off. Is it AI? And, I think to Tone's point, some of this stuff sounds obvious, but I thought about it while I was working on building the campaign, and I was like, I'm going to lay this out in black and white because I'm going to put it on my project to say these are my values behind this project because, we think about, do you like the art and the artist? How about you like both? Like, I like this guy's book, but I want to like the guy that's making it, and I want him to share my values. And you know what? If you don't like those values and you're like, well, I think AI is great, well, then you know what? Don't buy the book. I don't want you to buy the book. I'll be like the guy from The Boys. If you don't like The Boys, don't watch, right? That made me laugh with him because he's like, look, if you don't like me and my politics, don't watch the show. I was like, you know what? Hey, at least the guy's wearing it on his sleeve. It's what he believes in. It's what he wants,
Yeah.
So that's my platform. That's my pledge to the people working with me. That's the pledge to the collaborators. That's my pledge to the readers, to the backers. Because like I said, if I'm going to build a bigger, better, stronger, more diverse audience, why? Why should they spend their hard-earned dollars with my book and not something else? So while I want to talk about robots and talking animals and magic and cyborgs, like I think you have to at this point now you got to lay those fundamentals out to say this is what I'm about. These are my values. I hope you share my values and I hope you're into them too. And then you can really like the book.
Oh yeah, and I think that's a great thing because we don't talk about that often as creators when we're creating our own projects and everything, because a lot of the times too, you get afraid of stepping on people's toes. Because that's one of the things you go on social media. It's like, listen, if you like something, you like it, go ahead, support it. That's what you like. But if you don't like something and someone else likes it, let them go enjoy it. At the end of the day, it's not hurting you. And like you're saying, I mean, you, and again, I implore people that first episode, you want to know who Jason is. Every time Jason's been on the show, straight up front guy who's loved his work. And again, it showed that when we got to read that first Lords of the Cosmos, you went down there, you could tell, and just by you laying out the story, you've put your blood, sweat, and tears in your whole creativity behind building this world to transport people to. And just by like you're saying, working with, like, you do hear the horror stories. I mean, I've known that personally has happened to me. I've known it's personally happened to Law. It's happened to a lot of us out there, but it's always good to hear, like, creators that go out there and just like, no, I'm not going to be about that. And you're right, it is tough. Kickstarter has gotten really tough, and also too is saturated. But it's like, that's why I say to people who are watching this and listening now, you're one of the few campaigns to really go out there for people to go back who are interested in sci-fi, that fantasy, that space opera, and just investing into a creator's story who has love for the work and love for the creative space. You're one of those creators. There's not many of them out there in Kickstarter. There's a lot of horrible stories, but you're one of the few who we've had on the show who have gone out there, had a lot of love for it, love the fans, always want to deliver. And if you guys follow that link when it launches on September 10th, make sure you're one of the first few to get those early bird specials.
I will say that we are a very fortunate podcast in that at least a good majority of the people we've had on are really dope guests, genuine people. We've had them on multiple times and they do really well with their Kickstarters, but like, it's all love, it's all vibes, and nothing but the best, where that may not always be the case. And I've seen the other side of it where it's not the case. So Jason, thank you for being one of the good ones. Thank you for every time you come on.
Thank you for being our boy.
All of us, yeah, all of us are big smiles and just a ton of laughs when you're here.
Well, I appreciate it. And and here's the thing, and like I said, I wanted to boil it down and make it simple. Maybe other people can take the pledge and they can run with it too and say, hey, I think this is solid stuff and I'm going to say it. And like I said, maybe you'd say, well, it's all obvious stuff. It's like saying, be good, tell the truth. But it's like, but it almost seems like maybe we need to just say it and not be afraid to say it, because it's like, and if someone's like, well, I don't like what you said there. Okay, you know what? Then scat. I don't, if these things,
Hey, but you know what's wild? That of the three things you have, only one you can have an actual intelligent debate about, which is the use of AI in any forms of media and all that. Like that's a debate you can have. The other two, you can't fucking debate that. Like that's just common fucking
things that you should do. Yeah.
like things just to be a good human.
Yeah, and what's really shocking, I'm not going to sit here and name names because I don't want to get down to that rabbit hole, but there's been some shockingly high-profile creators that have really thrown backers under the bus. And there's been one that's been in my thoughts recently that's had a very, very successful movie that, and we can talk about it off the show, and I can show it to you, but it's been going on now for like 10 years, and there's still a lot of anger from backers about not getting it from a very high-profile creator that shall remain nameless. But it's shocking, and I do think with anything that's good, people ruin it for others. And you know, my big thing is I've had people for the last year saying, "When's your next book? When's your next book? When's your next book?" And I'm like, I'm taking the time now to get it done on the upfront, so you're going to wait a little bit longer because I really don't want to make you wait too long when it's done.
Yeah. And it's tough too because, like you said, working the day job too. It's tough because you got to divide the time between your day job. You got to divide the time between family, friends. You got to divide the time between, you know, dealing with like, hey, I just want some downtime. So it's like, I mean, it's you hear a lot of stories from creators who just get that burnout who don't continue, but it's the fact that you're on your 5th issue, which is a milestone itself and all that, especially in the indie community. Like coming out with multiple issues is a tough thing. It's always tough. And the fact that you got issue 5 now, plus other stuff that you've done, which has been crazy.
When I had mentioned to you guys how proud of the show I was that you keep going is so one of the things that has taken a little while on Lords is I've gone back and cleaned up and reformatted with some new covers and all the old issues. And I needed to get a file from one of the old covers for a back issue. And the gentleman that had done that cover for me has kind of drifted away from me, and I hadn't talked to him in a long time. And I had to reach out to him to get the master digital file to fix it. And he's basically stopped drawing. And we kind of had a conversation that made me a little bit sad because he was like, I burned out. I can't do this anymore. I don't ever want to do it. And I ended up talking to one of the other people, Danny, that has worked on all the books with me, that does all the cover coloring for my covers. And we talked about it. And I told her about this other gentleman that had kind of walked away. And she said, yeah, Jason, people burn out from this stuff. And I said, you know, the older I get, it's not so much about hitting the high highs. Maybe when you're younger, like I want to make the greatest thing ever. I'm like, it's about how long can you not quit, right? That to Sebastian's point, you get tired of it. The obstacles, the problems that you just say, you know what, I'm just done. I'm just gonna quit and throw it in a box, and I'm done with it. And then you leave. And so my one friend that had done some stuff for us in the past, I think he's out. You know, I hope he comes back, but he may not. And it's actually very sad to me. And the older I get, the more I realize we do get older, it's the challenge to not quit versus, you know, not that you don't want to excel, but it's like, man, sometimes just not quitting is a big deal.
Oh yeah. It's and I gotta thank Wayward Raven for this one because I had fortunate before I started tabling, before I got into the comic book world, before podcasting and everything, there was an off-site panel at New York City Comic Con at Twins Pub. May it rest in peace. Unfortunately, Twins Pub was torn down. They did an off-site panel, and one of the things that Mark and Alex said, you know, if you're going to get into doing comics or you're going to get into creating anything, do it for the love of it, because you do it for the money, you're going to burn out really quick. Because, like, at the end of the day, if you don't love what you're doing, it's because a lot of people get into this stuff and they're like, oh, it's going to be instant fame. It's going to be instant fame. It's going to, like, for that one famous person who breaks out at the top, you have to look at the 100 people that didn't make it. That's the sad reality of it.
100 attempts that they've made before, because even that one, you know, lucky success kind of thing, there's so much that went into getting them there.
Well, it's always because, like, if you really think about it, it's more of the instant gratification that people are looking at, because there are people who, for some reason, they're like, well, they didn't do 100 attempts. They made it on the first try. That was them. That is the rare gem you find in anything that made it out like that quick. And then you got those who do the 100 attempts. Like, you look at the Jim Lees, you look at the Todd McFarlanes, all the stuff that they got turned down. Like, they say it like, yeah, this is what I submitted in, and it got turned down. And then you start looking, it's like this. It's like you have to have a love for it, because at the end of the day, if you're not dividing your time, you're not putting it out there well, and you're not loving what you're doing, it is going to burn you out. And like I said, I commend you because when you look at your socials, when I look at you posting stuff, when I see you posting stuff at cons, when I see you posting everything talking about marketing right now for Lords of the Cosmos, you can tell definitely that you're one of the few people who love what you do. Obviously, we've been talking since 2021. And again, I
feel that long.
it doesn't feel that long.
There wasn't as
That's
much
why we
gray in my
haven't
beard
done.
before this.
That was a long time ago. It was
Oh
a
my
whole
God,
house
look
ago.
at these.
See those grays in that beard. Look at that, right? We'll color filter it out, right? Like,
Nah, I love these grays.
I'm trading my Gandalf right now. That's it. I traded in my hair to go in the Gandalf route.
What's going on, Mike? What's going on, man? But yeah,
no, I
like
mean,
I'll also like piggyback off of that and say like it's one of those little giants we only need one kind of things, because so many times burnout is you feeling like you gave it your all and you're just like, I don't have one more left in me.
sure.
And it's usually that one person who's just like, try one more time, just fuck it, why not? Like let it all ride on this one and just see what happens. And those are the wild stories that you hear of like, yo, I just submitted it, didn't think anything of it, and forgot about it. And then like months later, weeks later, days later, I got hit up and it became a whole thing. Like someone ready, fully committed to walking away from the thing that they spent a lifetime on, for them just to be like, oh shit, like I guess it's not time for me to hang it up and put it away, you know? But yes, Cheyenne, as a writer, I've had writer's block for 5 months and just got out of it. Been there. I work in mental health in the mental health field with the disability population. If I have time, I'm busy outlining chapters for my novel. Felt that, heard that, 1000%.
well, I mean, the message we got today, guys, is this: if you love it, continue what you're doing, and also go ahead, click that link there for Jason, follow his Kickstarter, and give him the money in your wallet because issue 5 is coming out, and you want to get those early bird specials.
So all I got from that was that just like Deadpool says to Logan, we'll be here for 90 years.
90 years.
I guess so.
97 add-ons, 90 years, right? You know what's funny? So, I got to say something. I've been putting all these add-ons together, and I've been working with my graphic artist, Tara, who's been helping me put some great graphics together for it. And you know what? I didn't realize how, I was like, yeah, until you have that many add-ons? It's like, yeah, I guess there's a lot. Oh, hate starts because it's the first time I've had them with a Lord's book. So it's like we actually had so many, we had to like condense some because if you go over 100, that you lose the bottom ones on the menu. And I had to talk to. I'm like, well, what happened to these original arts? And they're like, well, they're there. You have too many, Jason. I was like,
oh my God.
Yeah,
you broke Kickstarter, Jason.
Well, yeah, no. So I had to make sure I had less than 100, right? And there's like every piece of original art, 2 different T-shirts, right? Plot, can't wait, overwhelm everybody, right? Like, oh man, Jason's he's back for business.
Listen, man. I again, we're proud of you. We thank you for always coming on the show, reaching out to us and everything. It's always a ball having you back on, even with like just talking and shooting the shit. Like there was no tech issues today, guys. We were just shooting the shit in the background, like, oh shit, it's time to start.
Yeah, literally did not have a Tech Tuesday issue. It was just shooting
talking aliens.
But it's always fun, man. But
yeah, I want to segue into, because you guys kept mentioning the boys, where the boys were the boys. I think it's time to get into the boys, because I think this is one of the craziest.
So before we even jump in, Law, how do you feel that your plot was torn in half?
Oh, oh man,
you get it, Jason, right?
you know what's funny?
Lost plot.
Because you know what's funny? I kind of knew that it was gonna happen. Like, it was one of
just not like that.
Just not like that. Oh, just not like that. Absolutely not. But so like, for those who play the home game, I have a fucking down bad crush on Newman. Like,
Oh
that,
no!
that is my plot. Like, I watched the
You get it
boys
now, right?
for my plot.
You
That is my plot. So
I love it when it
Back-
just hits.
backtracking, right? Like Tone knows. Like Tone knows since day one that I've seen her on screen. I was like, that's my plot. That's what I'm here for.
Yep.
I love the boys regardless. Like, I absolutely love the boys regardless. But so I watched like the last episode, I want to say like 2 or 3 days ago now, and I had already known that it was happening because I've seen like comic spoiler stuff where they talk about the comic and reference it, or they'll talk about stuff, and then I've heard the spoiler already where like they're like,
if you're looking at comments, you got to read them out loud.
Oh, hold on, Jason. This is Kickstarter. Now kick all the stuff on the campaign.
Hugo, I couldn't stop.
Newman gives off Fuega energy. Yes, absolutely.
Yes, she does.
So yeah,
we broke Jason. That one.
So yeah, essentially.
I didn't see this is where we were gonna go with the boys discussion. This is
I didn't know that's where we were starting with either. But Tone obviously knows.
No, it wasn't that. And listen, look, we're terrible at going chronologically, and we like to do the hits. We don't dive into Easter eggs. We just talk about how we felt about the season. And I was just waiting to ask you about how you felt about your plot. So we can bob and weave like we always do. It's our formula. It's what works. Tony Stark died.
I will say, it was one of those things I knew it was gonna happen. I just didn't know it was gonna happen like that. I honestly didn't see her lasting the entire season. The way she was moving, I did not see her lasting the whole season.
Yeah.
Especially how she was in Gen V. I was like, there's no fucking way she makes it to the end of the season. If she makes it to next season, I'll be surprised. And then she got, but I didn't think that Billy was gonna be the one to do it. Cheyenne said Tone chose violence, and then Mike said Tone in the car always chooses violence. technically shy from Hugo. Technically shy. I think Tone chose road rage. Oh my God.
So I want to get Jason's thoughts about Lawrence's plot.
So let me go in chronological order. This is my embarrassing The Boys story. So my friend Mike from Philadelphia, Mike Liberati, hello Mike, go Eagles. So Mike a couple years ago was like, man, you should watch The Boys. It's great. And I said, oh, I don't have Amazon Prime. I can't watch it. And he says, don't you have Amazon Prime to buy stuff? And I'm like, why? He goes, that means you have it and you paid for it. And then I was like, oh. And then I downloaded the app on our TV and I was like, oh, I guess I've had this for years. So whenever I see The Boys, I always think about me being like dumb middle-aged guy being like, I don't have that. And, I think you've been paying for it for years. So we'll go back to that point. So that was my first Prime show was The Boys.
Okay.
I really love season 1. I really love season 2. I really love season 3. I didn't like the ending because I really, 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 I wanted to see Black Noir. I wanted to see Soldier Boy, Billy Butcher, and Homelander. I really wanted to see that. And as a viewer, I kind of felt cheated where I was like, when they just killed Noir, and I was just like, I was disappointed. I felt like a wrestling fan. Like, I didn't get the fight that I wanted to see. And then it just, so I kind of.
Did you read the comics? Like, do you know the comics version of this at all?
No, but I bought the books on Kickstarter and have them in a box, haven't opened them. Like the full hardbound set. So at some point in the future that'll never happen, I'll have to read that, right? Or it sits in the read pile, right? The read pile, the not read pile. So I came into season 4 kind of being like, I was kind of down in the dumps as a fan. Didn't watch Gen V yet, right?
Okay.
But I was like, I'm going to watch season 4. I like Kripke. I've didn't really like the finale, but I'm going to get back into it. And I have to tell you, as a I sincerely really enjoyed season 4. I love the fact they brought Noir back. I thought it was so cool. They let the actor do it again, and he got to talk. I thought that character was one of the most fascinating little tidbits in the show, where he kept talking, and he's like complaining about the job. He's like, "Do we kill people?" And they're like, "Shh."
It's like, I can't find his motivation at all.
Yeah, I mean, it was great.
Yeah.
So, I mean, to me personally, I had a lot of fun as a fan watching season 4, and then ironically, I was missing the show between episodes. So then I went back and watched Gen V, and I was like, "Oh my god, this show's really fun too." I really had fun watching
so good.
and then I actually watched both finales on the same day. I kind of like built together.
Okay.
And this sounds really corny. When I was reading X-Men in the 90s, I liked how they dovetailed a lot of their books together in the early 90s. And I really kind of had an X-Men 90s vibe when I watched Gen V and the boys kind of like together. I didn't watch them in the order they should have been watched, but I really enjoyed it. And I just had fun watching season 4. And, you know, what I found the most humorous was there was all this, oh, the show's woke and blah, blah, blah. But I'm like, well, it's always kind of been on the nose. So maybe you didn't realize the joke was on you.
Yeah.
Like, conspiracy convention. The conspiracy convention.
Since
That was amazing.
since
Yeah,
fucking day one. Since day one, it's been like that.
I love that. I love the Vought on Ice, like where they blow the girl in half. So there was a lot of stuff.
Oh man.
It was on the nose, but the people, you know, well, is Homelander making fun of me? And then that episode 4 where Homelander goes back to the Homelander laboratory, dude, when they cooked that guy in the oven, that was one of the most uncomfortable things I'd ever seen on TV. Where I'm like, they're gonna burn. Like they cooked the guy and they showed it. Like
Yeah.
that was like
that episode.
I know it's not real, but like honest to goodness, that scene was chilling because as a viewer, I'm like, what would that be like to be that guy in basically an oven? And that horrified me as a viewer, and it horrified me with Homelander as a villain. So, I mean, like I said, like that episode was a banger. I mean, it was upsetting. It was graphic. That's what I want from the boys, and that's, you know, like from season 1 when they put a bomb up Translucent's butt and blew him up from the inside. Like, you know, and like I said, all the shows woke or whatever. It's look, man. I mean, like it's been pretty much on the nose from day one. It's just almost kind of like the joke's on you. Like today, like you finally figured out we were all making fun of you.
Yeah.
To me, that was kind of, as a viewer, I was like, that was kind of funny. Like that was kind of the meta humor for me in season 4 because I was just having fun watching it, but seeing people, oh, the show has changed.
No, it hasn't.
Kind of seemed the same.
No,
to
it
me.
hasn't. So
Nope.
No.
So yeah, no, I really and actually
Mike says, can I interest you in a hood release when you were talking about your Prime and you couldn't, you were like,
oh no,
I didn't know that I had Prime Video. He's like, well, you could have hood released it. We have Hugo going, cue the I don't think I have that response.
Well, so, I mean, like, me personally, I the only thing, like I don't know that I really had a complaint about season 4. I really honestly I enjoyed it.
It was so I want to go back to Black Noir because you brought up Black Noir, Jason. So the actor who played him is Nathan Mitchell for this season. Black Noir had narcolepsy this season, and it was inspired by the actor's actual case of narcolepsy. So they wrote it into the script. So everything that he's falling asleep,
that's wild.
Funny. That's the actual actor is narcolepsy.
That's great. I read an article where they interviewed him, and it was so funny because he was talking about, you know, when he knew the character was going to die, which disappointed me, that he was like, well, I guess I'm done. You know, my job's done, right? I've gotten 3 seasons of work, and, you know, he didn't get to talk or anything. And then they're like, but we're going to bring you back as like Noir 2. You know, and he was shocked. Like, I thought I had, you know, had my guts torn out, and it was like, yeah, but it's an actor, you know, so. To me, he was one of the most enjoyable parts of the show because I was mad when they killed him. I really wanted to see him fight with Homelander. So I'm hoping we still get that.
I mean, they're like when they were like Black Noir flies because he was flying and
it'll be interesting if Noir fights Homelander because of what happens in the comic with Noir, right? And they're trying to like, because they're definitely not doing the Noir thing that happens in the comic. Like they flat out said they're not doing it. It wouldn't make sense here, and so finding a way to distance it completely with any sort of like end final battle with Noir. I hear what you're saying, Jason, but I just like knowing what they're trying to do. I think they're gonna leave that to like Butcher and Soldier Boy.
I get it. And I think you're right. And at this point, I trust the writers. I mean, like I said, the only time I felt bummed watching the show was, and I detailed, I felt there was an end boss fight that I wanted to see that I didn't get. But
yeah,
I've watched it for 4 seasons. That was the one part where I was kind of like, I didn't really feel that I got the viewer high that I wanted. But I really enjoyed season 4. So, I love the ending when they caught everybody. It reminded me a lot of X-Men Days of Future Past where they catch everybody. And it was the scene I was watching Gen V where they catch all the kids and they put them in that white cell at the end. So, it's kind of good to see the heroes knocked down. Like, how are they going to come back? So, like, I'm stoked to be like, are the Gen V kids going to hook up with the boys? And then I also ended up watching the animated series as well during the final.
Oh, the animated series is bonkers.
And you know what? I was watching that, and then by the end of it, I was like, "Hey, was that the old man gives his wife the V compound V, and she gets the cancer?" And then I was curious, and I read an article where Kripke said they got inspired by the animators to do that mutation with Butcher.
Yeah, that's cool. I know a lot of people kept tying it, but I didn't know Kripke like made a comment about it. That's awesome.
Yeah, so I mean, so it was weird. So I think I was so bummed out after season 3. I didn't watch Gen V and I didn't watch the Boys animated series. But then I got so hyped up during season 4, I kind of went back to watch it, and I really felt rewarded because I was kind of dumping it all at once.
Yeah.
I just was having a lot of fun with it. It just as a viewer. I think the biggest thing we can say for these things is did you enjoy yourself? Did you have fun? And I was excited every week to watch it. Season 4.
Yeah. It was just sad that Mother's Milk got caught by Love Sausage because again,
oh god,
Love Sausage and
again.
Yeah, does Mother's Milk get to kill Love Sausage? Like maybe that'll be his big win in the
I hope. But like I will say, I remember messaging the group chat and I was like, yo, is it just me or is this season really fucking depressing? Because like I love The Boys and I watched this season in bits and pieces because I couldn't binge it. I couldn't like week to week it. I would do like 1 or 2 episodes and then stop and then go back to 4 if it stopped. Because I was just like, damn, like everything hits so much harder this season. Like you actually kind of feel bad for Butcher at some points, but you're also like, you are off your fucking rocker, dude. Like you're at the point of no return. Like you've been past the point of no return, but like you're gone, like so far gone now.
Oh.
Like I don't like it's hard for me at earlier points of the season to see him be redeemable. And then I felt so bad for Frenchie. Frenchie became one of my favorite characters in this season, and I was just like, I fucking loved his character arc and development for sure.
Well, let's talk about Kimiko because throughout the entire series, she did not speak. But what
for your first words to be no, bro, fucking heartbreaking.
They knew what they were doing.
She lost her voice because of trauma and gained it back because of trauma.
Oh man, that's crazy.
Well, Huey, so Huey, his dad has this horrible death.
Listen,
that was horrible.
Yeah.
And then he gets basically sexually assaulted by
multiple times, multiple episodes, multiple times.
Yeah, I mean, like
and manipulated because he thinks he's getting married. He's getting the whole thing with Tech Knight, and he's got the doppelganger shifter or whatever the case is.
Yeah,
like he went through it this season.
Huey took so like literally like Huey just gets. I mean, you felt bad for him. You felt bad for Frenchie. I mean, like he falls in love, and it's like, but I killed your parents. So you're like, geez, like this is pretty heavy, right? Frenchie is just abused, right? Kamiko has to go through that trauma. Starlight is basically just I mean,
struggling with her powers and trying to be this beacon of hope for everyone.
She was struggling with her identity.
She gets shamed for having an abortion on the kind of the
yeah. Oh my god. Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so and then she gets basically kidnapped and chained up like it's a serial killer. So the season was definitely
you get fucking Mother's Milk who like knows that his ex-wife's new guy is like off the deep end, finds him, finds that he dies because at the hands of the soups, and then has to explain that to her and like his daughter who's going through it herself because she has the same like panic attack, anxiety attacks that he has, and you're seeing that he in an interview, the guy who plays Laz Alonso, who plays Mother Milk, said that he for the role was usually bigger, but this season, due to all the stress that the character was going through, he's sitting at where his normal weight is. He's not as big. You can tell.
He made a conscious choice to be skinnier.
To be smaller. Because he's just been too stressed out from from what's been going on.
I want to add this though for his character too, because if you notice, each season he was trying to get back his family. He was finally getting back with his wife and all that they were going to go, and then you get that very end.
Yes, he can't leave.
Yeah.
Well, and shame on me. I can't think of the character's name. The woman that's always pulling out her hair that injects
Ashley.
She's
oh man.
Yeah. So I mean, you even start feeling bad for her. I mean, I would say the most redeemed character is A-Train. A-Train actually felt like the most humanized, and that like he was trying to do good. And even though you hate A-Train in season 1, right? You kind of feel he seems like he's redeeming himself now.
I think you were always meant to hate A-Train in the sense that you know that he's probably someone who at some point had a good moral upbringing. You see his brother looking at him with like a funny look, and you can tell that he lost his way. So for him to like take a step back and stop drinking the Kool-Aid and go, yo, this is really fucked up. But like you see that shift of like, oh, this is really fucked up, but I'm in survival mode. I can't just bounce because Homelander would kill me. Like there's like such a little, space for error for him that you see him in this season where he's fully going, I'll be your man on the inside, but you're seeing it completely tear him down.
Sure.
I love the Will Ferrell.
Oh my god!
No,
and I want to say something. Like one of the things that I've loved about
we're gonna get to that, Mike. We're gonna get to that.
So I think one of the funnest things about The Boys is that they do take some like these kind of bad Hollywood films. Like the Will Ferrell thing, hilarious. I love the A-Train soda commercial from a season or two ago.
The Pepsi thing, yes.
In real life, and they're not afraid to take a piss on that stuff, and it makes me laugh. Like that A-Train soda commercial was just that to me. That's what The Boys is all about. That they just take a piss on that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
That kills me. Like those little asides. Let's talk about the Deep, right? Where does his character go? Like, I want to see him hurt so bad. He is a shit. He is such a shit on this show.
It's funny because I don't think he's a character that has any redeemable qualities. Like he's not.
No, he's a shit.
He's not meant to have any redeemable qualities.
He's a shit. Like Jason, he's a shit. He's an idiot. He's an idiot. Like he just does
what he's
man. Yep.
He's a yes man. He does what he's told to do.
When he killed his girlfriend, I fucking was like, "This is not happening."
Yeah, he's a shit. I mean, he's
also voiced by Tilda Swinton, apparently, which was news to him because he was like, "Wait, what?"
like because I think in the first season I kind of felt like A Train and the Deep were both kind of shits, but A Train has definitely had like an awakening of like, oh my god, like what have I done? Kind of like Queen Maeve.
You have A Train who like went down the path of redemption, whereas I think for the Deep he doubled down. Because you figure he went on that book tour, he was with his wife and all this other stuff, then he got pulled into that cult or whatever it was, and then like he's just constantly going down this path of like, yo, if Homelander says I'm his guy, and like I'm in the 7, so I'm a big deal and all this other shit. So you're seeing like when Sister Sage put the battery in his back, was like, why do you let her talk to you like that? And he was like,
fascinated with Sister Sage. I'm fascinated with Firecracker. Like, there's some of these characters where I'm like, and again, I think this is where the writers have done a good job. I am actually curious about every character. Like, so I loved The Shield when it was on FX, and I remember we were watching the final season at my friend's house every week. And the last episode, we each got a tablet, and we're like, okay, here's what's gonna happen. Like, we made our guesses. Like, this is like every character, and we were wrong on all of them. And at this point, maybe we should do that for the boys. We'll for the final episode, all the characters, like, what happens to A Train? What happens to Queen Maeve? What happens to I am curious about every, like, Ashley, like, what happens to the Deep? You know what I mean? I'm now curious about every single character. Like, what happens to all of them?
I will make one prediction. I think Firecracker, because what you see that's change of her character is kind of going through just a little moments. I feel like she's going to flip in the next season. Because it's like, you know, she's doing all this stuff from Homelander, but then she's realizing all this little stuff, but she's still going with it. But it's like I just see her flipping. Sage, I'm scared of Sage. I am scared of Sage because
Sage is wild. It's just like I could do it whenever I want. I knew you could do this.
I had a feeling that Sage was gonna come out on top, but I didn't think it was gonna happen the way it happened, where she came back and was like, everything's according to plan, this, and like picked up her book and was just like, next time you should have fucking listened to me, and just bounced. I was like, that is the most cold-blooded shit to say. Oh my god!
Does Homelander shoot her in the back, or does he let her go? Like, even in that moment, you're like, does he get like? Because here's the thing, Homelander, and I think
he wanted to be angry, and like, I think he would have killed her had he not realized that she was right, and I do have to keep her on my side.
This is the thing about her character. Out of anybody that's tried to control Homelander, she hasn't tried to control him, but she has used his emotions against him, so that this way she's like, all right, I'm good. I gave you what you want. Even because he was like, but I threw you out. She's like, but you let me do whatever I wanted. She knows how to play Homelander because she's not trying to control him.
Well, she also gets this enjoyment from doing this thing, like she got like this high from being allowed to, like, all right, I'm gonna make Homelander president, essentially. Like how can I make Homelander president? And she's like, all right, whatever. Like, cause like she didn't take it personally when she got still gonna do this because it's just a personal agenda thing for her, just to say that she could do it.
Yeah.
Right. She's like, what else? Because she has it. She's like, I've cured cancer. No one believes me. All right. Well, I'm going to make this guy fucking president. How are we going to do it? Here are all the pieces. And I'm going to bake it and that he fuck up. And I got to clean up this mess.
Because I think, that proves wild. That she's that smart to know the contingencies and like the way the dominoes will fall. Like, if, like she said, like, there were things that were out of her control that she didn't see and didn't expect, but honestly, they were acceptable losses. She was like, I would have killed so-and-so sooner, I would have called her later, whatever the case. And like, you're just seeing how her mind works in the level of control over the entire season of situations that was presented to her.
So until her brains get scrambled.
So there's Sister Sage, Ryan, and Soldier Boy, that the three of them, I don't know where they're at the end. Do they help the forces of good or evil? I could see all of them doing either. Right? Which side do they go on?
Wait, you think Homelander would be on the side of good at the end?
No. Ryan, Soldier Boy, and Sister
Oh,
Yeah.
Ryan Soldier Boy.
And again, no, Homelander, he's irredeemable.
He's far gone.
Yeah, he's far gone, right? But like those three, I'm like, well, where does Ryan go? Like I'm enjoying the character of Ryan. I'm enjoying Sister Sage, and I was so excited.
When he
to see
killed
that's the
Mar-
I think
Marjorie-
Mallory.
I think that's a breaking point for Ryan. So Ryan's gonna be a
he killed the stunt guy. He killed the stunt guy in this season.
I think so. I think the thing for Ryan's gonna be him losing that sense of humanity that Homelander keeps instilling in him. So like he keeps killing, but it doesn't. He becomes numb to it. So that first time he kills someone, he's like, "Oh my god, I killed a guy."
Sure.
And now with Mallory, it's a situation where like,
is Mallory? Are we sure she's dead? Or are they going to be like, "Hey, we got her"?
No,
back?
she's dead.
She's dead.
On their neck.
She's for sure dead.
Her neck is
right there.
super broken.
Yeah, she's so it's. I think it's gonna be one of those things where like if he has time to calm down and recollect, is he just gonna double down and be like they shouldn't have forced me to do that, like that was their fault, and that get that teen angst of like that blame them, or is he gonna be like, oh shit, I'm in the wrong, I see my dad being in the wrong, I need to do good.
I think these writers, they're playful and they're creative, and like I said, there's enough characters that it's like, what will Soldier Boy do? Does he just play a straight heel, or does he turn it around? Well, here's something else. Well,
Soldier Boy is the wild card in the situation because I think he still wants to fight Homelander. Homelander still wants to fight him. I also think that given the situation, Soldier Boy might just be like, fuck it, you guys can handle it yourselves.
You know who scared the shit out of me from Gen V that I realized that she started to play a role on The Boys is the girl that's like, hey, Law, eat your own hands. And the guy's like,
oh, yeah.
Oh
my God.
Problem.
I forget her name.
Full
but
problem.
Man,
yeah, I know who you're talking about.
Dude, she was like, and again, because I was watching them at the same time, I'm like, oh, who's that? And then I'm like, oh, that's her on this show. So, you know, I do think they've done a good job layering these shows. So I'm excited to see the next season of Gen V because it's like, will the Gen V kids end up catching like Frenchie in like their superhero prison?
Yeah,
I think they're tying it because it's going to be Gen V season 2, then Boy season 5, and they're going to probably. Right. I wouldn't be surprised if they bring it together for season 5, and then
it tracks because the Gen V kids are in their prison, like their prison.
Yeah.
Room, and then the end of the new season, only Starlight basically gets away, and everyone else is shuffled off to like they're going into like police trucks, right?
Yeah.
They don't.
Yeah, I'm assuming Gen V season 2 will take place after Homelander is essentially pseudo president. Like,
well, right,
like,
and all the heroes,
yeah.
And it would track if the Gen V kids are in like their prison. Wouldn't Frenchie and Kamik, like it would all track.
It'll be interesting to see if they're
in the
same prison. Yeah, no,
I think so. I think they will be.
One of the things too that the show does interesting is ways to use your superpowers that you didn't think people would use them, and now we kind of know now and didn't need to know how Multiple Man would give himself fucking pink eye. I was like,
yeah, that was a shocker.
Right.
Let me ask you guys this: was there anything about season 4 that you didn't like? And I told you what I didn't like about season 3, and that was just my personal opinion on that. But I felt that
it was hard. For me, it was hard to actually find anything that I didn't like this season because I think this season it kind of like you thought stuff was going to go the way you thought it was going to go, but I'm kind of glad it didn't because I feel like this season delivered a lot. It was a well-written season. It showcased there was no blurring of the lines, and you had a lot of those moments where you did feel a lot of sad and heaviness for these characters. I mean, and one of the things too with people, they were expecting A Train. People were expecting A Train to bite the bullet this season.
If you play,
You broke up.
I have one thing.
Hold on, Tone. You're breaking up.
You're talking Cybertron right now.
Back.
Kind of.
Yo, am I back?
There you go.
There
You're not
you
talking
go.
Cybertron anymore.
Okay. Well, I'm able to get it. My complaints
Sound
You're speaking Megatron again.
I would say I was kind of bored with the Huey storyline with his dad for a little bit. Like that was kind of like not as interesting to me as the other storylines. But when it paid off, I was cool with it because I was like, they're gonna pay it off, and they did. So I mean, I was kind of, they rotate storylines. There were some storylines that were a lot more interesting to me than the Huey and his dad storyline, but they paid it off. So I mean, that's just a very minor critique, and it got to pay off. So I didn't mind it.
Actually, one thing I'm hoping they touch more back with Kimiko and that connection with that girl, because again,
that felt like too quick and short lived.
Yeah,
sure.
For me, I mean, there's not a lot of the season that I have like critique on, more than like it was just a lot. Like there was so much happening, and I think it was so well done. But because it was so heavy, I think it hit like in a certain way where I was just like, I can't watch this all the time. I need something to enjoy.
Can you guys hear me?
There you go.
All right. So my thing is I do agree about the Huey thing. I did feel like the payoff happened. It was just weird to do this thing of him like essentially being a vegetable to then bringing him back to then killing him. Like I thought like that cadence was a bit weird.
Yeah.
But my thing was, and I think it has more to do with like the marketing for season 4, was that like this trial of Homelander didn't really happen, and it felt like it was supposed to be a bigger deal when it wasn't. It was literally the first episode. He was in and he was out, which is fine if they didn't make it out to be like, well, season 4 is going to be about this trial of Homelander. I'm like, no, it's not. It's just Homelander's doubling down on how unhinged he is, and he's just going to do his thing. I would say I was like one of the, because I wanted to see a little bit more of that. I'm waiting for when this flight information is going to come up. I thought that was going to be this season. Like, I don't think it matters.
Well,
I don't think the flight information matters now for next season because he's the fucking president.
Yeah, it came up, but only to Ryan.
Yeah, it came up to Ryan, but like, but this idea of like Homelander, loving attention from people because he's a fucking broken person because he had never got love, right? Like you see that, like that's why he tortured all those people and all that shit. Like he just, and like this idea of the flight being this thing of like, hey, we've got this trump card on you, and now he's essentially doing whatever he wants. And now I don't know how what effect it plays.
I have a prediction, and I think it's kind of an obvious prediction. I'm going to make it. So they've hinted like a couple times in the show that Homelander just hates all of us that are normal and or non-supers.
Yeah.
And he, in the one episode, he fantasizes about just killing like thousands. He's like,
oh yeah,
because he's so sick.
Yeah.
Guys, that it's like, oh, whatever. I hate you guys. I'll just kill all of you. Mm-hmm. And then you're like, oh my god, he killed them all. Then he's just daydreaming. It's like, I'll daydream that I want to kill everyone here. And I think that that's going to pay off. And maybe what'll pay off is they'll be like, oh my god, you killed all these people. And then he's like, hey, you know what? F you guys. I'm going to just kill 50,000 people at the stadium because you know what? You want to say I'm a monster? Everyone dies. So I do think we're going to get that payoff in season 5 that you almost have to, for him to be the arch villain. He has to have the moment where he's like, you know what? I'm a monster, and I don't really care if you guys know I'm a monster because you can't do shit about it. And I'm going to kill everybody at the stadium or the whatever. And that he will have some active past in the show that will not be. Because I almost think if they don't have that, like, don't we kind of need that payoff from him as a villain?
No, I agree. He needs his burning King's Landing moment, and at least this will make sense.
Well, I mean, look, we don't want real violence, but I'm just saying for the sake of the show, thematically, I almost think he, as the arch villain, he almost has to have that moment where he's like, I am, boom. You know what I mean? I don't care if, like, you thought it was bad when I killed the one guy because he threw a water bottle. I'll kill a zillion people. So I think we're going to get that moment, and it could be, hey, look, he did this in the video. And then that's where he's like, you know what? Don't care.
Yeah, that's so it could be they hijack a feed or something, like you're saying, at a stadium or a presidential rally. Like it could be an inauguration, right? The inauguration right? Because they've been hinting at like this January 6th thing, or like doing something, to what happened in our real world, right? And so that could be it too. You're right.
Like, if you out me as a monster, maybe you guys are the first ones to get it. Like, hey, we told you guys that Jason's a monster. I'm like, and then I get you guys. Like, well, so I take it out on you for telling.
Yeah.
I always look at this like Homelander presidency thing and go like, this is the other version. It's the same coin, but the other extreme of Lex Luthor being president. Because Lex Luthor being president isn't necessarily a good thing. While as much as he's like, I'm for humanity, I'm for this, I'm for that. We saw the comics, we saw the cartoons. It was not great. I think there's maybe like 1 or 2 timelines where he actually is a good president. But he ultimately goes back to his ways. And then we see Homelander, who's just like, I'm taking it by force. I'm president by name, but I'm a fucking dictator, is what I am.
Yeah.
So it's funny, like, if you actually see the actor Anthony Starr in his interviews, sweetest fucking guy in his interviews and everything.
Night and fucking day.
It's night and day. It's like, wow.
He's phenomenal, like what he does at Homelander, and the fact that he has not won an Emmy for that fucking performance is sad.
Yeah,
and it's like it's
you know what? I do have another gripe about season 4, and it's a minor gripe. So here's my other minor gripe: is that I thought it was cool that they brought Giancarlo back on the show, but it seemed kind of cheap that they just kind of like rolled him out and then rolled him back. Like, that kind of seemed cheap, because I was almost thinking he was going to get out and start doing stuff, but it was like, that seemed a little cheap. And I'm nitpicking.
Also, now that he's in play, how is he going to react that his daughter was just killed by Butcher?
So that's what my thought was. So originally that was going to be one of my nitpicks. Honestly, when you said it, I was going to be one of my nitpicks until I realized that he's technically not back in jail. And even if he were to be back in jail, what really prevents him from just walking out the front door anyways? You know?
Also too, I did love the Super Sheep in this season.
Oh my god.
The fucking, yeah.
So, okay, I'm going to amend that. If Giancarlo has no role in season 5, I will say that was cheap to bring him out and put him on.
Yes.
So if he has a role in season 5, then it'll make sense. So
I think it was.
I mean,
because I think to your point,
is in the same.
Say that again.
I think Vought.
I said his also the thing about too his granddaughter is in the same school that what's her name was in River.
Oh, that's right.
So again, I think if they bring Giancarlo, and maybe Giancarlo plays a role in stopping Homelander. I'm not sure what that is, but
or taking out Butcher. Who knows?
So it's one of those things where I'm putting the piece on the board for all of us for next season. We have Butcher, who is hell bent on killing Homelander, no matter the cost.
Yep.
But Butcher now is become like
Crazy.
top priority threat. We also have Homelander, who's already past the point of no return. And then we have Stan Edgar, we have Ryan, we have Sister Sage, and we have Queen Maeve. And we have Soldier Boy, because we saw him in the isolation chamber or wherever the case was, but we don't know what that means. Is he gonna kill him in his sleep, or is he gonna let him out and try to talk it out? I think get him on his side.
I think Soldier Boy is his dad, because
no, we confirmed that that's his dad.
Yeah, we know that's the case.
So that's
that was last season.
Yeah, so it's him, like, because you saw because you got to zero in on Homelander's face when he's looking at him, and it's like there's this thing of he's just like it's like this look, and again I got to give it to Anthony Starr, the way he plays him, the look that he was giving him, it was like this look of longing, that it's like, this is my father, I want to, like, he's gonna have daddy issues, I'm gonna take it with this right now, because Homelander's as much as Homelander is evil, he's a fragile human, and it's because they broke his psyche as a kid which is why he's
Well,
when
to
you see
be
him with
fair,
talking into
it's
the
a
mirror.
combination of things because they broke him as a kid, but then what they did to him once he got to the 7 and just put him on a fucking pedestal and pumped his brain full of like, oh my god, you're a god amongst men and all this other
Here's a
shit.
question: who's worse, Homelander or the people that did all the stuff that made him Homelander? That was one of the
people.
It's Frankenstein versus Frankenstein's monster,
right? Yeah. Like he's a monster, but then you're like, but these people like did all this stuff to him, like, and then he's come back and killed them, and you're like, well, who's worse, the people that made him or the guy doing the stuff? Like, yes, he's committing the acts, but it's like, yeah, I mean, it gives you pause for thought of like, there's a lot of bad here.
Yeah,
and it's like they
I think they're doing a good job. Good.
No, they made this monster. The monster has now bit the hand that fed it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the scene with the doctor when she came down and told him put that guy out of his misery. You know, the guy who he lasered off his balls, and then he just stepped on his head, just put him out of his misery. She still thought that she was in control because she went in there with confidence. Yeah, and then you saw they were not in control, and they still think that they can control this fragile character who, in this case, they're trying to make you feel bad for him, but he is still evil. It's like it's like you can't.
He's also too far gone for them to control because he's not the same kid as he was when he left there.
So I really think what we need to do is closer to the time, we should challenge ourselves. Maybe the first week we have to make a list of all the characters, and then we don't reveal it, and we write down all of our
plot
answers.
progressions and whatnot.
Yeah. So like before the season starts, like Homelander gets killed by Soldier Boy or whatever, and then we have to reveal them like the first week of the show, and then we come back and re-review and score. Like, yeah, well, we did it for the Shield with my friends years ago, right? It was a blast because you're like, I think Vic gets killed, or whatever. Ronnie murders Shane, and then it was like, oh my god, Shane commits suicide with his family or whatever, and you're like, oh my god, in the office, Ronnie's in prison. That was a really fun show because you didn't know where it was all going.
Yeah,
Sean Ryan did a great job with that show. This would be fun. We should do that. We should have our.
I'm here for it.
To the round predict the boys.
This is a wild show to try to predict because like we've been saying, there is very few characters in the boys that are true good people. Sure. Like honest blue, like I am just a good person. And they write it so well that even like the worst of people are somehow like you ultimately have to play the lesser of two evils game, because you look at case in point. I've been meaning to get back to him. We look at Butcher and we look at what's this guy's fucking name, Joe Kessler, fucking voice in his head, and you're like, oh, is Butcher just really really fucked up?
That was an amazing
because we've learned that that's a part of him, and he is ultimately just embodying this fucking really fucked up guy. Yeah,
mean killer.
Or
and best actor to play that role too for Kessler.
Absolutely.
Well, and here's the thing: did you guys all watch The Wire? Did everyone watch The Wire? Did anyone not?
I didn't finish it, but I've watched most of it. Yeah.
Okay, no spoilers, but and I didn't do it for The Wire with my friends because I think I was watching it by myself at the time. The last episode, there was so many surprises. Like what happens, what happens to Omar? What is it? This show would be fun to do that. We should definitely do that in 2 years when the next season. It'd be fun because I'd be curious to see everyone revealing everyone reveal your Soldier Boy. Because it could be like, dude, honestly, the way this show goes, it could be Firecracker will forget about her and she ends up offing Homelander with some secret weapon. To me, nothing's off the table. Like it could be as crazy as that. Yeah, she could poison the titty milk and kill him. Whatever, I don't know, but or does Sister Sage save the day because she's so smart that she was like, "Well, I was always," or she could be the biggest heel. Who knows? And that's what's fun about this show, especially going into the final season. Like, I really feel that I have no idea what's going to happen, and I like that I don't know. It's
so
fun.
I have the biggest question for you guys.
Yes.
Okay.
How do you torture a masochist? That whole scene with Tech Knight. He was like, "Oh yeah, hit me, and then stab me again," and then they starts transferring his money. He was like,
Take his money. That hurt.
Yeah. You just gotta hurt him. Like,
no,
it's
Tech Knight,
that, or just give him denial. Just deny him of everything that he wants.
Tech Knight was such a shit on every, because I was discovering him on Gen V, and he was such shit.
So you knew what hole he was trying to fill in for Webweaver.
Yeah, and again, I give him credit because it's like some of these characters, and like some of the characters are a little conflicted. Like, do you hate Sister Sage? Like, I don't know how to feel about her, but like the Deep, Tech Knight, they're just shits. And that's it's fun to have characters that you just don't like. And that, you know what? I don't need to be like Tech Knight can be just a shit. I think it's great that he's just a shit. I don't want to like him. I don't want to feel, well, it's fun to have conflicted characters, but it's fun to have ones that we can all say, I hate that guy. And you're like, yeah, I hate him too. He's a shit. And that's cool. I enjoy that as a viewer as much as I enjoy my conflicted characters.
When his Alfred and his sidekick turned on him and the quickness.
Oh my God, that was fucking great. I honestly didn't see that happening because I was like, he's been drinking the Kool-Aid, he's so for it, and he was like, no, I have to do this and I was like, well, okay then.
I will say this, and it's interesting because these shows, and I know this isn't an Invincible show, but I've been watching Invincible and The Boys, and I really do enjoy both of those. And I think it is fun because obviously we've all read a ton of traditional Marvel and DC superhero books, and you hit a point where it's like there's only so much of that till it gets kind of stale. And I having fun with both of these shows because they're at least different enough that like it's like, okay, we get the Justice League tropes and I get it, but it's like let's flip it on its head. Like what happens to Superman is bad, you know what I mean? Or Homelander, like now Superman, the Superman character isn't the best person, he's the worst. And it's like it's different.
How close can we get to that trope while still being the complete
funny
what if scenario?
What's funny is that Marvel and DC have tried those what if scenarios, but they won't push the envelope like they did in Invincible and The Boys because it's showing you how deep and how they can go off the far end. And it's like they're not doing it for the shock factor. Because if you really think about it, it's like, they would do this type of shit if this power was there. And then if a company was involved, like Vault in this example for The Boys, it's like, you're seeing what's happening with superheroes being controlled, manufactured by a company for so many years.
Well, because the closest we get in DC, I would say, is anything that Amanda Waller touches. And then I would say from Marvel is that run that we had where Cap was Hydra Cap.
So I think if you think about really good superhero, right, or any kind of action film, the better your villain is, the more interesting the hero is, right? I mean, you love Die Hard because you love the terrorist, right? And I'm spacing the terrorist's name, the German guy.
Hans Gruber.
Hans Gruber, right? Like if Hans Gruber was lame, how exciting is like if the villains aren't challenging or scary, right? So if Homelander was lame, the show wouldn't be as interesting because we love to hate him, right? He's awful, and I think a lot of these mainstream DC and Marvel movies have suffered because they struggle to have really good antagonists. I mean, I think of the Justice League film, that guy Steppenwolf. I kept thinking of the song or the band Steppenwolf. He just was like a CG guy with an axe. It's like he didn't scare me. He didn't offend me.
He was not the Steppenwolf that should have showed up.
Yeah, he was. And I think Marvel has really struggled outside of Thanos to put a good villain together that is really like, wow, like this person is really savage.
Like outside of all the legal stuff that happened with Jonathan Majors, they really did a good job with his character on Loki. They dropped the ball in Ant-Man because I felt like to really make his character stand out where he was a credible threat to Thanos, someone should have died in that movie and he shouldn't have been knocked out by ants.
They didn't want to do it. And his extra legal problems aside, he wasn't threatening. He just was kind of there, and I think he's, again, legal problems aside, I think he was a very good actor, but the character just didn't have menace. I mean, think about No Country for Old Men. Anton Chigurh, the dude is scary. Like when he goes to that old man.
He's so.
Yeah, I mean,
the fucking cattle thing that you put in your head.
Yeah, the cattle piston. Like, you know, the better your villain, the more interesting it is. And I think The Boys works because Homelander is a chilling character. Like, he is scary, he's unpredictable, he's unhinged. Like, he is scary to watch as a viewer, but if he wasn't played that hard, the show's not as good, right? So they can have that villain that is just like, damn. Well, you know, The Dark Knight with Heath Ledger Joker. He was a truly menacing character, and people remember that film because of him. Batman's the straight man in the pair, right?
Yeah.
So, you know, the better villains equal better movies because we love to hate these guys. And I think The Boys 4 is successful because of Homelander. He's such a you love to hate him. And and there's been people are admiring him. Well, no, I love good villains. Like, I hate him, but I love to hate him.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, like it's it's like we love our bad guys. We love Darth Vader in Empire Strikes Back because he's just a killing machine.
Well, it's like when you go back to also like with Invincibles, like you hated Nolan.
Oh yeah, he's horrible.
That first season, you hated Nolan after you knew what he did, and then the big reveal, they finally revealed it, and then it's like now you're conflicted by Nolan in the second season with what's going on.
Nolan's amazing.
Yeah, Nolan is just he's an amazing written character.
Fucking love his arc. It's so good.
And so
I'm trying so hard not to say anything.
Nolan's arc in that comic book's a fucking masterpiece, though.
Yeah,
that comic book's a goddamn masterpiece.
For when it came out and what it is now, it still holds like so much weight. It's so good.
Yeah, it's so good.
So it could be why Marvel's putting Robert Downey Jr. back as Dr. Doom because they're trying anything they can to have a villain with gravitas. I don't think that's really going to work. That's my personal opinion, but I understand what they're trying to do. Like, they need a villain with gravitas because your heroes are only as interesting as your villains.
Yeah.
So
well, I think what they're doing. I mean, I said I still have mixed feelings with the whole thing with Robert Downey, but obviously it's going to be on the Fantastic Four movie because the Fantastic Four is not taking place in the main MCU until we see that and see if that's going to link Robert Downey's Doctor Doom. That's where I'm going to leave it at with that one. But it's interesting that they've actually taken a step back to try to rewrite things and take time because that's something DC at one point needed to do. They were really doubling down hardcore on a lot of stuff, and they weren't. And like, you know, Marvel's last few movies have been a hit or a miss. Like, Guardians of the Galaxy 3 was fucking awesome because you hated the High Evolutionary. You hated him. And it's like, it was like, you know, it was a very hard hitting Marvel movie, but yet Thor, Love and Thunder fell completely apart because it's like, you couldn't, like, they wasted Gore the God Butcher. They wasted him completely. The most recent one, they just did a great job with Cassandra Nova. I think they did a great job with her, which I'm like, I wouldn't be mad if they bring her back because the actress did such a good job of this character. It really felt reminiscent to what they did with Loki when they first, like, it was a villain you love to hate and kind of want to see some type of redemption for, because I did not expect them to go with the route they did with Loki, because it was interesting like they did with Loki, but it's like, I get what you're saying. Your villains have to be as good as the heroes. Their arc has to be as good as the heroes. And if it's not, you're just not going to care for the property. Like when you look at the Marvels didn't have a memorable villain. All the villain was
not even as good. They need to be better.
Yeah,
the villains need to be better. Like we all know who Thanos was. Like, you know, you read your comics, you know who Thanos was. But the Russo brothers still like, we're going to give Thanos his own fucking movie. You know, say what you will about the idea of resources instead of pleasing Lady Death or whatever, because people like to joke on just make more food. But at the end of the day, Infinity War is Thanos' movie. It's his movie. It's his win. You finally see his threat. He fucking kills Loki in the first 15 minutes. He's got the Power Stone, which inherently tells you he destroyed the Nova Corps, and he puts the hands on Hulk and makes Hulk get scared. Like, in 15 minutes, Thanos shows the fuck up. Mind you, You know, and so and I think they do the same thing with Robert Downey Jr. with Doomsday. Like, I think he's going to show up in Fantastic Four, right? But if they're going to do it the way they want to do it, Doomsday is going to be Doom's movie, and he's going to figure out whatever this power is to become essentially the Beyonder, or get the Beyonder's powers and build Battle World.
So think about this. So in our pre-show chat, you guys asked me if I saw Alien Romulus this weekend. I was like, no, actually I went to the theaters to see Star Trek II, The Wrath of Khan. I'm going to get on the rabbit hole of Star Trek really quick.
Go for it.
Wrath of Khan, hadn't seen it in a while. So I watched it with a fresh set of eyes this weekend. It's great. And the reason that it's great is Ricardo Montalban, and the writing is so good. And he's such a great villain. And Star Trek as a franchise has been chasing that movie for 42 years, trying to make another villain. And they've made 10 more movies, or 11 or 12 more movies. They haven't come close, and they may never do it. And you go back and rewatch this film, and it's from 1982. And again, fresh set of eyes watching it. And I'm like, man, this guy is great. It's such a good film. His motivation's great. There's so much.
The right combination of great acting, great good character writing, motivation, all the right pieces. Yeah. It's hard to get that in a bottle again.
And the thing is, Star Trek has even tried to have in the first J.J. Abrams redo, they tried to have that guy that's the Romulan Khan, and you're like, what? I mean, it just didn't work. And it's they've tried Star Trek. It's Star
that
Trek
reveal.
Yeah, it's such a weird franchise.
Oh yeah.
So many times to have another good villain, it's there's Khan, and then there's everything else they've done, and they can't.
You know what's about the Khan thing is that the whole thing about Khan, which I find so interesting, is that
cut out tone.
I think Khan got him.
Khan got him.
Well, the Khan one character. Nope. Khan's number 2 guy.
God damn it!
Let's run away, and he's like, "No, I'm not going to leave." Right? Go ahead, Tone.
Let me know when I'm back.
You're back.
Am I good?
Yeah, you're good.
Okay.
And now you're lost.
That in that first episode, Tom shows up. You see him. It's a 20-minute episode. Oh my God! Is it happening again?
It's you're coming in and out. What part of the
I fucking hate the car so much.
I think he said Jason's right. I think that's what he said. I
mean, you're not wrong. You're not wrong in the fact that I think you're right. I hope this comes through. Is that it was fucking years between when he aired on the TV show and was such a presence, and then they bring him back in this movie. When Star Trek was trying to chase movie fandom because of when that movies came out, but there was such a they just did a movie with a really good villain, and it didn't have to hold anything. Whereas now everything is you got to do it in 2 to 3 years to see something progress and make sure it all connects. Where Khan 2 was it was, I don't know. I don't know what the years of time, but
68 to 82. Space Seed was in 1968, I believe, and then Khan
20 years.
14.
So we got a comment from Hugo. Tone from down the road and out of antenna range.
I need my 5G.
So
how close are you back to civilization?
I'm 16 minutes, but we're gonna be off by then. But I should be good now.
Gotcha. Okay.
So the weird thing, and I have very sparse memories of that 80s era. It was you would go to the movies, and there might be a trailer for a movie, and that was it. And you'd I saw this thing, and you did. So movies were much more mysterious as a child to me because you knew nothing. Siskel and Ebert had a show we would watch on PBS where it was thumbs up, thumbs down. Yep. There was a couple magazines that I would get occasionally, like Cinepastique and Fangoria, that would have, and Starlog, that were the printed version of fandom, and that was it. So I mean, for films like Wrath of Khan, they came out in a vacuum that would be impossible today because everyone will critique it before it comes out. They'll critique it after it's out. There'll be jerks on YouTube debating why they didn't like it, predicting what's going to happen. You know what I mean?
The worst was the Deadpool reveals that people were doing to get clout on social media, was that people were actually leaking scenes on the day that the movie released onto platforms like TikTok and all that.
Sure,
Which
just to read it.
and I was like, to do it just for clout for people and all that, because I remember speaking to someone who's like, yeah, don't go to social media when Deadpool comes out, because he was like, the stuff that people have leaked is actually ridiculous.
Spoilers.
It was like, yeah, if it's still amazing, the movie made what it made, but it's just that the amount, because like when it was crazy. So when the first Star Wars movies came out, for the new movie, the new trilogy, and when the Avengers movies were coming out before, like people actually at the time were like, no spoilers. Give it 2 to 3 weeks, no spoilers. Like people were actually respecting that. Now it's like they go to a movie all of a sudden, and I'm like, there's just this fan base now that just gets off on spoiling everything. Which I'm like, dude, why are you doing this?
So here's kind of a weird not spoiler story, and no spoilers in the spoilers. So about a year ago, a friend of mine was like, "Hey, you got to watch this cartoon Scavenger's Reign. It's on HBO Max." And I was like, "I don't have HBO Max, and I know that I don't, right? Unlike Prime." and then I got a thing on my email that said, "Hey, Scavenger's Reign is now on Netflix," and I was like,
Yep.
"Oh shit!" I remember someone said I should watch this, and I'd really like it. So I sat down one weekend and I just watched it, and I had no spoilers. I didn't know what the hell the show was about, and I loved it. I thought it was a ton of fun. It was one of my favorite shows I've seen this year, if not my most favorite. And it's so weird because it's not a huge mainstream property. No one was talking about it, and I caught it a year after it was on, and like I had no idea, because it's not a Wolverine versus Deadpool where they've kind of transcended to this next level of, oh my god, everyone's going to tell you when it comes out and everything else. So it's weird. I was able to watch that a year after it was out, and I just enjoyed it. And I would encourage you guys to watch it, because you probably
it's on the list.
It's been on the list, and I remember giving the first episode a watch, and then got distracted by something.
This is
and
so
I couldn't.
much stuff
Yeah.
that's out.
No, and here's the thing. I was like, oh, I'll watch an episode or two, and I ended up binging it, and I don't normally do that because it's that good. So I give it a really high rating.
Nice.
It kind of reminded me of Akira. It kind of reminded me of Avatar. But if Avatar and Akira got together, I don't know. It was really original.
It's such a wild mix.
Yeah, and it was really good. But again, it was so weird because it's not this huge, ultra popular pop culture product that I could watch it a year after it debuted, and I was just like, hey, I had no idea. I just had people saying, watch it, Jason, you like it. And I did. So it is. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
No, I felt that way. I'm gonna look up the animation for it, but it was on Netflix. Animation.
Blue Eye Samurai, that was good. I like that.
Yo, that was really good.
That was very good. Amazing. But I think I know which one you're talking about.
Laserhawk, I believe it was called.
Are you guys?
It had Raymond in it. It had like a lot of the Ubisoft version of the characters, and it's the one animation that you get Raymond. You remember the guy who's just like, he has had the ball for a body in his head and all that. He was like back for the PlayStation days.
Rayman.
Yeah. Rayman.
Not Raymond. Like, who the Jesus Christ?
It's the one thing that you have him eating sushi off of a anthropomorph cow's ass. I was just like, really?
Okay,
Rayman?
Here's a hot take for you guys. This is like the hot political take question of the show. Are any of you excited for the Terminator anime coming out at the end of the month on Netflix? Because as much as my brain says not to, I'm actually excited for this, because I think anime, it could be the one format that actually does a proper Terminator sequel. I'm excited. Are you guys excited?
I'm excited for it. I'm excited for it. Yeah.
I wouldn't say excited. I'm gonna watch it, but where like my friends and family are huge Terminator fans, I was always like, I like it, but I'm not the level of fans that they are. I was PlayStation Raymond was that.
Well, I'll tell you why. Because I hated all the Highlander sequels, but in 2003,
Highlander's a guilty pleasure. Oh my god, I hate that it's so bad, but it's so good.
Madhouse did an anime Highlander, like a kind of a variant story.
I think I know what you're talking about. Yeah, that was a good one.
I'm actually very open to, like, as much as I was goofing on Terminator earlier in one of our conversations, either before the show or during the show, laughing about Genesis or whatever. I actually am like somewhat excited. Like I'm like, okay, this looks like, because I think it's Studio IG, and I'm like, okay, Studio IG, Terminator. Like I'm like, okay, like you sold me, and I'm about as cynical on Terminator as anyone could be. But I'm actually like excited to watch Terminator the anime, and I might be on an island, maybe just me and Law. I don't
No,
know.
you're not alone. You're not alone in that. I'm gonna watch it because it's like
Yeah, I would watch that. I didn't know about it until recently, and I was like, oh, this looks interesting.
Yeah,
You know, I was like, you know, what's fun is that like I started getting back in. I was like, you know what? I haven't seen Terminator 2 in a long time, so I put it on. I'm gonna watch it with my son because he saw it and he was like, ooh, what's that? I'm like, it's Terminator. He's like, all right. Well, I was like, yeah, but your mother said you had to go to bed now. You can't watch it with me now. I'm not getting yelled at. So like you can, we can watch it together. So you know, it's funny because every time I think of like Aliens and Terminator and Predator, it all kind of just morphs into like I need to watch these movies like right now and like go down the Wikipedia, right, reading all the lore again and all the stuff because like, you know, that's what like it's just that those series just like compile into like memories of being a kid and watching them, and it's like, oh, time to dive into these core memory films of mine.
Well, think about this. There's a piece of media, right? And that maybe stays the same. But what changes is the context that we watch it in. So there's another podcast that I love to do where we take an old film and we analyze it together, right? And then we rebuild the movie. And Jaguar Sharks. So much love to my friends on Jaguar Sharks, right?
Nice.
And so we did an episode about Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome. And, you know, they always laugh because I'm older than them. So I told them my memories of like buying the magazine for it and taking it to camp. And I had seen, you know, the two other films, and I was so excited, but I was so disappointed because Tina Turner wasn't as cool as the Humongous to me. And, you know, so there's all this context, but I'm like, they made that film for me because of the age I was at the time, 9, 10, whatever. And I was like, it didn't hit for me. You know what I mean? So a lot of my opinions of that film are based on how I felt when I was a kid in the 80s. You know what I mean? But I rewatched it for the show, and I had a different opinion watching it in my 40s. You know what I mean? So a lot of the stuff, you know, it depends on when you watched it. Where were you in your life? What was your perception? Were you younger? Did stuff scare you that wouldn't scare you now? So I do think there is a floating change in movies about when you watch it because you're not the same. So if you watch RoboCop when you're 15 and watch it when you're 37, you know, you could have different. It can hit different. Like RoboCop, I've watched that over the years, and as a kid, I liked the special effects. As an adult, now I'm like, there's a really strong social commentary about social services going to for-profit organizations that seems to affect real issues in our life, and they were making a statement about it in the 80s. But I'm like, but man, this is really good stuff.
Oh yeah. If you go back, if you go back to a lot of,
depending on when you watch it, it's different messages.
Yeah, if you go back to a lot of those 80s films that had to do with the sci-fi future and everything like that, a lot of them were like how corporations were taking over everything. Like RoboCop was OCP. Blade Runner was like, you know, you had Alien had Weyland Yutani. Even like Free Jack showed you what was going on with, like, you know, when a company was in power. They didn't name the company. It was like Anthony Hopkins' character who was like in charge of all that and was trying to take his body, all because he loved this one girl and wanted to come back as Emilio Estevez's character.
So what hits the hardest for me in Aliens now, like, and as a kid, you like the special effects and everything else. What hits me the hardest now is Yaphet Kotto when he's like, hey, why am I doing this? I'm an engineer. Am I getting paid for this? And they're like, actually, in your contract, when you're older, that's the part of the film that you're like,
oh shit,
yeah, didn't care. Older, I'm like, yeah, like Yaphet Kotto, like to me, he's the character that like he gives me chills now because I'm thinking that's what I'd be saying now, being like, whoa, I sell air conditioning and heating. Like, why am I doing this? Well, actually, Jason, your contract, and you know, we're quoting rules at you, and you have to do it, or you forfeit your whole paycheck for the year. And he's like, shit, right? I mean, it doesn't hit when you're a kid because you're not working, right?
That's like what Amazon now. That's like Amazon. Sure. Not doing your contract, we're gonna terminate you.
So like Yaphet Kotto hits hard, man. Yeah, other duties as required. You forfeit your full share, and you know. So I mean, again, does Yaphet Kotto hit when you're 12? Nope. but he does when you get older and you're working and you're like, I'm with that guy. I'm with him. You know, he's talking for me, but it doesn't hit the same. So I do think all these things, you know, it just hits different. It's different.
And it's funny. And it's funny too, because when people see it in cinema now, they're like, oh my God, I don't want my films to have a message. Why can't it be like the films in the 90s and the 80s? They had messages. They were already there. Like you're going like you said, Rafiko, and how we're going over like how a lot of these companies were portrayed in like a lot of stuff. Like the dystopian world. Like you look at Mad Max. I mean, you could literally run. Mad Max was like the world after COVID at some point away. Because like you could run back like even a lot of the sci-fi B movies with their messaging and all that. People, what was it? There was one, I can't remember the name. It was with a killer robot, and the world that they were in, people couldn't breathe, so they had to wear masks when they were walking outside. When they were in their apartments, they were fine, but when they were outside, because the air was polluted and everything. So it's like there are a lot of messages that were in a lot of these older movies, and it's like it was already in Hollywood. It was there. They were creating this world. Unfortunately, as like they always make the joke, like it's not so old, but it's called Idiocracy, and people like the guy's like, yeah, I made this movie as a satire. I didn't make this as a documentary.
Fucking President Camacho.
So
Macho.
my older son and I watched Beavis and Butthead Do America the other day. I bought it when it came out on DVD, which was like 2006. And I hadn't watched it since then. And I watched that movie with him last week. And I was actually shocked with how good it was. And I was like, how old is this movie? And it just I don't know. There was a lot in that film that kind of hit me. I'm like, this film's actually pretty thoughtful and deep for a movie about Beavis and Butthead. And I was kind of shocked by the whole thing. It hit me.
You don't think about it at the time, because it's like, first of all, at the time when Beavis and Butthead came out, think about it this way: what was the one thing we were lacking? We didn't have social media the way that we do right now.
We didn't have music videos. That's what we had. That was our communal experience, music videos.
You didn't have people in their basements being keyboard warriors, which I'm going to call it that way, because like, people just, you sat down, you either enjoyed the stuff or, okay, this wasn't for me. It's probably for other people. And there were some stuff that was unfortunately ahead of its time that ended up getting canceled. But at the same time, again, people just sat down and they enjoyed their stuff. Obviously, if people were upset about something, really upset, they had to take the time to write a letter to send it to someone. Like, you remember? So it's like you had to take the time to write.
I know, Sebastian. I know. I know.
But it's like, it was a very, and the only time that you really had to deal with the conversations of people hating it was friendly, fun arguments with your friends in whatever, if it was by the water cooler, or if it was like, if you were in school, it was at lunchtime when you argued about what X-Men was the best X-Men and why this X-Men sucked.
I think the biggest shift I've seen with what you're talking about is that I used to think about people being sports fans, and then there was like people that liked entertainment. And sports fans is very binary. I like this team, you like that team, and we compete. There's different uniforms and colors and whatever. So by its nature, being a sports fan is about rooting for your team and rooting against the other team, right? And what I've noticed in the last, I think, 10 years that's accelerated is that the sports mentality of like, my stuff is better, because I'll hear like fans of movies being like, well, my movie grossed more than yours, or this film made more money. And it's very strange to me, because like we had a really cool conversation before the show about like Aliens films, and I was like, I'm not into the newer one for these reasons. And here's the thing, there really isn't a right answer. If Sebastian went and enjoyed it, great. If it's I don't really want to.
There he goes. Look at that face.
There you go. But, like there isn't like, well, I won because it didn't make enough money, or, oh, Sebastian's correct because it made this much money, and that validates his opinion. But I have noticed over the years that entertainment, like, well, the Marvel movies are bigger than, the DC movies, or the Star Wars is better than this, and it made this much money. And it's like people are trying to apply their sports fandoms to entertainment. And I've actually found that very disturbing, because That's not what, like, there isn't a best art because it could
Right.
be opinion. But if we have baseball, it's like this team scored more runs in this many games, therefore they win the series. So it's like that's a very measurable, whereas the arts can be subjective. I mean, so I'm telling you, I think that Scavenger Brain is one of the best shows I've seen this year. I don't know how objectively successful it was.
We're seeing that right now with the Acolyte. The Acolyte was announced that it got canceled.
Yeah.
And the amount of people that came out and said, "Yay, look, we won," the many voices. But I was like, there's actual fans of the show who like the show.
Doesn't that remind you of sports fans? Like, your team lost, right? And I know every year, if you follow me on Facebook, which you guys do every year, I got to make fun of Cowboys fans because it's like a national tradition. But I got to put
right. I mean, you're an Eagles fan, so that's part of it, right?
Well, I like the Steelers. I'm a Steelers fan, but maybe
Steelers fan,
Cowboys now it's like a national tradition. But it's fun because we say this. There's that thing of the Steelers fans or the Cowboys fans crying that they
right.
But it's weird because I'm seeing that now with the Acolyte where it's like, oh, these fans are crying. And it's like, I mean, whatever. I wasn't into it, but I feel no need to, like, it being canceled means nothing to me. I don't feel the need to celebrate or be sad. I didn't watch it. I'm not interested in it. It's just not there. I don't feel the need to like, it's weird. I just don't care.
Here's the one thing that people were celebrating, and this is the one thing I wanted to think about. You're celebrating the fact that now there's a lot of people out of work. That's what you're celebrating right there. Listen, I mean, the show had its like ups and downs. It had probably one of the best lightsaber battles I've seen in a long time. It was trying to be original.
Yeah.
And it had its fans, and there are people who are generally who wanted to see where they went with the season 2. It was a story. It was one of the first stories in a long time that we were going away from the Skywalkers. Like I said, the show had its ups and downs. Wasn't one of the best Star Wars shows. Was it one of the greatest? No, I mean, but it was still a good show, in my opinion. I have my opinions on Zack Snyder as far as it goes. I see the writing on the wall as him as being a director. I go like this. I tell people I give him credit where it's due. He gives you beautiful shots, but as far as the story goes, I don't think he writes a great story. I think he needs a partner to help him flesh out the stories. And I told people my whole thing is like, look at his recent thing that came out with Rebel Moon. I saw both Rebel Moon movies. I don't need to see a director's cut where you're trying to change the story now, because then to me, as a fan of learning and reading and looking at stories, I don't want to feel like, okay, this is a whole different movie. This is not a director's cut then. But again, there are going to be people who are going to love it. Go ahead, enjoy it. Enjoy the hell out of that movie. And it's like and I think you're right about that. It's like, it's a sports mentality where people are like, yeah, I got canceled because this is why it's canceled.
I don't remember that years ago. And again, like I will, give you my in-depth opinion on stuff I've seen, but I'm not running around cheering for some of this stuff it's very weird, but I've noticed more and more that, and maybe it's because this stuff's more popular and more fans that weren't into this stuff are coming in and they ought to be sports fans. And they're hardwired to, we got to root for our team and root against the other team because that's sports, right? And we all have fun as sports fans because I'm sure we all have a sports team we like, and you root for them, and that's the thing. But the arts are different. I mean, there isn't. I told you it sucked. That's why they canceled it. Well,
it's so good. It's just
a lot of that mentality.
He's quoting what people are saying, and that's what people.
So I think that's kind of one of the unfortunate parts of this stuff becoming more popular is we're sucking in more of the mainstream population, and a lot of them, they know sports, and it's like, well, how's my franchise doing? It's bigger, and it's like you can like things that are actually like, again, I'll keep pimping Scavenger's Reign because it's on my thoughts. Like, it doesn't really matter if it made $1 zillion or not. It's really good. You would enjoy it. So, I mean, would you enjoy it less because it made less gross profit than Wolverine and Deadpool?
There's so many things that when they released were not critically acclaimed and, did terrible in the box office. For later on, future generations picked it up and it became a cult classic. Boondock Saints being one of them. One of my favorite movies of all time.
Well, it was like that too, even with like, back then when The Empire Strikes Back came out. A lot of people hated it in the beginning. You go, what's annoying is that you don't hear the silent majority who is just happy with it. I just want a good story. I'm not concerned with the ethos and mythology, blah, blah, blah. So there are a lot of movies that were not critically acclaimed at the time. Like, for example, like I said, The Empire Strikes Back, John Carpenter's The Thing. Now you watch those films years later, over time, those movies have a huge following. And it's like back in the day, like I said, people had, if they were upset, they had to write an angry letter. Like if they had stopped at Empire Strikes Back, they would have, like, you know, we wouldn't have had the first Star Wars trilogy that we had. But I mean, it's a whole topic I can go for like long and long and long about, because it's like at the end of the day, I say this, it's like we there are already people who want DC to fail with the new DC reboot that they're doing, because there are Snyder fans who are upset because they're not continuing Snyder's vision. Clearly it wasn't working for DC and they have to reboot the stuff. And it's like, you know what, I want to give it a chance, because if DC wins, if Marvel wins, if all these studios win, then we win as fans, is getting new content. Now again, is everything going to be great? No, there are going to be some duds that are out there, but I'm going to support studios that are going to learn from those duds, go back to the drawing board. Okay, this is what we did. And we've seen this happen a number of times. The funny thing, I feel like when the Sonic fans, and even though Ugly Sonic still made his appearance in like a Chip and Dale movie, yeah, they bullied them, and I feel like that was done on purpose, but they bullied them.
Okay, I mean, listen.
It was bad.
Sonic is a different monster. They needed to bully them. That was an atrocity what they did. Sonic was an I'm on the camp that it was a marketing thing to get more budget to change him.
You know, it's great.
I'm in that camp.
I could have cared less about Sonic, but even I was fascinated with the pissing around about that, where again, I could have cared less. If it just didn't matter to me at all. I knew what it was. But yeah, I mean, that was wild to me, all the just fighting. And I'm with Tone. It could have been a marketing stunt.
Yeah,
but
I think that one was a marketing stunt.
Look, for what it's worth, though, those Sonic movies are solid.
So, what is
solid
funny,
video game movies, which is rare now.
So I have a coworker that's into anime. He's a little younger than me. He's like, bro, you got to watch Solo Leveling. So
you do need to watch Solo Leveling.
Watch it.
A shout out to my coworker Alex Einspar here in the 38th hour of this podcast. I love it. But so what was funny was I just kind of dropped into it and started watching it. Right. So I'm watching it. And so now I'm like aware, like now I'm listening to the chatter. Right. And holy hell, was there enough whining about that show? Like every week I'd be like, oh, I enjoyed it. And then it was just like, this episode sucked. And they screwed it up. And there was so much, like, I was like, this is the most negative show I've ever been like watching. Because I'm like, oh, that was really cool. And then it's like, this is shit, you know? And I was just like,
I mean, listen, I know me and Love read it. We love it. I'm like,
I was aware of it, but did you guys see that too? I mean, it was just like every week. Shit.
I did. I was confused by it because it felt very much like, yes, they added some scenes that aren't in the comic, but it felt very much like normal manga or manhwa to stream. Like they're taking shit from the pages.
Yeah,
you know.
I can't wait for next week. This is shit, and I was just like, oh. Okay.
I feel like
there was so much backlash with like them bullying the American voice actor to be like, get it right, and everyone's just like, he's like,
for him to say rise, that was the thing.
For him to say arise correctly. So like, the whole thing was, he put a thing on his social media page where he was basically saying like, I've helped like script and do a lot of like the storyboarding for this. Like I am a part of this. Like I love this franchise. He's like, but if you guys keep trying to be in my comments telling me what to do and how to do it, I'll just say wakey wakey or oh good morning champ. Like that. Like he was like, I will change the narrative in this just to make you guys pissed off. And everyone was like, okay. And then he got like the, you know, where everyone was like, oh, this is the best one. Like we love.
You know what's funny is that we are now in a day and age where before we were like, oh, it's dub, believe it, right? And you're just like, whatever, watch the sub because dub is trash. Now we're moving towards dub is decent. I don't watch dub. I still don't watch dub. I'm a sub person, but I can appreciate dub for what it is now. Where back in the day, dub was so trash. Anyway, go ahead.
So Okay, so I remember right back in my day, I remember buying anime on VHS, and it would be like, well, here's something I want, right? Silent Mobius, Akira, whatever. And it's like they're $50 each for like VHS, and it's like you can buy the subtitled or the dubbed. And like it was a decision because it's like, wow, okay, so I'm gonna buy this, and that's the version I'm gonna have. And that's
if the dub was good.
And that's the version that's forever gonna live rent free in my head.
It's expensive, right? So then you'd be like, do I want the dubbed or the sub? So here's the weird part about it. Someone asked me recently, well, Jason, you've loved anime for so long. Do you prefer one or the other? And I stopped and thought about it, and I was like, oddly enough, there's some that I prefer dubbed and some that I prefer sub. So I started thinking, why is that? And you know what I realized? And again, this is for me. It might be the same for you. Is that whatever I saw something in first was what I cued in on. So like, for example, when I saw Akira for the first time in the early 90s, it was the VHS streamlined dub, which had a lot of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle voice actors. So to me, that's Akira. And I bought Akira multiple times over the years. It comes out in different formats. And there was a different English dub that I didn't like. And I tried watching it in subtitles, and I was like, I don't like it. Well, the newest Blu-ray, which is like the definitive version, has all the versions. And it's like, yes, we have the original late 80s dub, and like I found that comforted me the most because that imprinted. But Bubblegum Crisis, which I saw originally in subtitles, I tried watching it in dubbed, and I'm like, no, I
won't watch it sounds horrible. Like I said, it depends on the dub.
I like that for Outlaw Star. Like,
yeah, it's
like in the book or else. Yep.
So it's almost like whatever you stumble on first imprints as the correct version, and then if you try to watch something else, it's like. So I rewatched Ninja Scroll last weekend because I saw it's coming back to theaters, but not near me. So I was like, I'll watch it myself. And you know, the magic of technology, you can watch it any way you want, right? Which is laughing the VHS there. It's like you pick one, and that's all you'll have. So I tried watching it in English, and I was just like, now I got to watch this in subtitles because that's what I know. And so it is a very weird thing, you know, having done it for a long time. Like, what do you pick? And then like with Solo Leveling, I watched it on Crunchyroll when it went right to English. So I was like, I'll just watch it. So to me, Solo Leveling is English. It's dubbed. And it seems fine. I like it.
That's how I felt about Kaiju number 8 too. It's Kaiju number 8.
Is that good? Is Kaiju number 8 good?
Kaiju number 8 is good too.
That's another recommend that I gave them. They were like,
I gotta ask you. Okay, here's another question because I've been trying to watch some of the newer, more popular anime with my kids, and I've noticed my kids are getting sick of them and leaving because they all seem too long. Demon Slayer, My Hero Academia, and my Attack on Titan.
I can't get my kid to sit and watch anime.
Like old school anime is just like a punch to the face. It's like 83 minutes, you're done, or like 3 episodes and you're done. Like some of these newer shows, they're good, but they're exhausting. It's like, here's a boss fight in Demon Slayer that's like 7 episodes, and you're just kind of like, good Lord.
Oh yeah.
It's like at the point of like, you know, is he gonna watch it to watch it, or like, do I need to have him watch it for the spectacle, right? So like, the reason why my son was like, I want to see Terminator 2 with you is because he caught it in the beginning when you see the fucking robots, right? Like that's when he's like, oh, that's cool. I mean, granted, that is cool, right? Like you see that shit for the first time. It's cool. If we're past the robots and he sees Arnold Schwarzenegger walking around naked, he's gonna laugh and be like, why is this guy walking around naked? like he's not gonna get that concept, bro. Like he's walking around naked. He's a fucking Terminator. He came from the future. That's how that works, kid. Like I can't explain that math to him. He's like, this is stupid. He automatically goes like, this is stupid.
I think it's stylism. Like it's this style. Yeah. Like newer anime just all seems like older media is like punch to the face, like boom, in and out. Newer stuff, I'm like, damn, this stuff is all it's long.
So I think what's changed is like if you remember older anime, we were lucky to get it to finish if it finished.
Yeah.
If it had
older anime was doing the R. Kelly. I'm fighting for my fucking life.
Whereas with the newer stuff like Demon Slayer, My Hero, they now are being given a chance to complete their arcs, which is like with Demon Slayer right now with its most recent season. They're like, okay, we're gonna finish up my Demon Slayer with 3 movies now.
3 movies, and then Attack on Titan was like, hey, you can watch the finale as a 1 movie as it was intended.
And what I notice is like So when you watch like Ninja Scroll, which is the other in the spectrum, it's like a 90-minute adrenaline rush. And then you're like, wow, I wish there was more. Whereas like I watched the newest season of Demon Slayer that was on Netflix, which I know is the newest one. And they're fighting this demon, and it's like he's just, it turns into 2 guys, then it turns into 4 guys, then he chases a guy, and then I'm just like, and I keep thinking it's over. It's like, oh, but now he's got to kill another version. I'm like, I actually got exhausted. Like I was like, is this? I'm like, look, I'm like, how many more? Like, oh God, you know. And it's like it's all quality, but I'm like the style, and I think Sebastian's right. I mean, they're letting them play it out, but it's like. Maybe before it's like we wanted more. Now it's like you need to. Could this fight be 3 episodes? Does it need to be 8?
Well, it's all a larger plot too. Because even the animes I remember growing up, like I remember watching Guyver. But the thing with Guyver ended with a fucking monster fight every episode. Like there was no. Like you had it was very much Monster Week, and it was bloody, and it was action packed, and sure, like I felt like anime back then, the seeds of moving the plot forward were like a little bit there, but you're really focusing on unless you're talking about Dragon Ball, then that's a whole different can of worms. But I remember like you watch 5 episodes of Guyver, you're watching 5 different fucking monsters get obliterated,
right?
You know, and you get that hit to the face.
And I think, you know, if you look at cinema or anything, there's we want longer. We want all the extra scenes. And then when you go and you watch films where they're cut tightly, you're like, no, I get why they cut these 8 minutes out because it drags. And really good films, if you watch like Goodfellas, there's a film with no waste. There's no waste. That film was 100% super movie. Like it never stops. And there's no like, this is so boring. Like everything is important. And I think that's the standard for entertainment that we've kind of taken for granted. And I think a lot of animes become a little bit long-winded. Just my humble take.
Yeah, but I think you're like Kaiju number 8 because it moves that plot forward. But we are at that witching hour. Jace, so for those who are still here, make sure you check the links out for Jason's Kickstarter coming out.
Yes.
September 10th, Lord of the Cosmos. Jason, give your plug away.
So at Lennox Artist on Twitter, Instagram, and find me as Jason Lenox Illustrator on Facebook. But Lords of the Cosmos issue 5 with 97 add-ons to the campaign, including limited edition action figures, will be launching on Kickstarter on September 10th. And then I'll be going to Indiegogo later in the fall with some additional variant covers, right? So you can follow the link. Pre-launch will be on September 10th. There'll be early bird specials. Everyone's going to be there. All the cool kids. No AI, pay people, book's done. It's at the printer. It's all done. I got the test prints the other day. Lords of the Cosmos issue 5. Be there or be square, right?
All right.
Beautiful.
Yeah, right?
Beautiful.
Well done. Way to stick the landing.
And me and Tone may be on 4-Letter Nerd tomorrow talking anime. So
Yes.
guys tomorrow. Mike is going to want to talk anime since a bunch of stuff. So get ready for that. And next week we are talking. What are we talking?
House of Dragon.
House of Dragons. House of Dragons.
Or as the kids like to say, hot D.
Yes, Hugo. There's some catch-up tiers. You can get all the back issues with brand new covers. So
nice.
PDF
Beautiful.
or physical.
But again, guys, we want to thank you as forever. Jason, thank you for coming back.
Yes,
a
pleasure.
And if anybody wants to learn more about Jason, we did also include the link to his interview episode, which happened back in 2021. Yes, 2021.
So long ago.
But this has been another great episode, Nerds It Around.
Thanks, Hugo.
It's been your boy Sebastian.
It's been your boy Law.
Any boy Tone in the car.
Yo,
it's the third time we broke Jason tonight.
Guys. Have a good night.
Beautiful B music in 3, 2.